elected, please. Okay, so thank you very much. We're 1:30 and would like to call our regular council for Tuesday, October 24th to order. We have an agenda in front of us, Mr. Coleman. Do we have any additions or deletions?
Nothing from administration, Madam Chair.
Very much. Someone want to move the agenda as presented? Councillor Wanchuk, thank you. All in favor? It is unanimous. We have minutes from October 10th, 2023. Someone want to move those as being correct? Councillor Verdi, thank you very much. Any comments, questions, errors, omissions, or debate on those? I am seeing none. All in favor? It is unanimous. We have a presentation this afternoon. Ms. Cuppins from the Leduc branch, 108 president, Sean Cuppins, the vice president, and veteran Kevin Crone will come forward and present the first poppy in Leduc County. So come on forward. Do you have a presentation?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come and present the first poppy. With me also is Sergeant Macbeth from the RCMP detachment.
Welcome.
You can come and present poppies.
Absolutely. And then,
Kick off our poppy campaign on Friday officially.
so we can't wear them yet?
You can wear them though,
Okay.
because the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor General have been presented theirs.
Perfect. So if you want to, Linda, we can hand them out and then we'll have a picture up here with all of you and all of us. Okay. On up, kids.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cummins, for taking the time to come and do this. Certainly, we believe in the sacrifices that have happened in the past and those that are continuing to happen to keep our country free and to provide the freedoms that we all enjoy right now. So thank you very much. Oh, well, thank you. Okay, with that, we have an opportunity for anyone in the public who would like to address council on any item that's not on the agenda can do so now. Second call, anyone who'd like to address council? All familiar people back there. Third call. Okay, thank you very much. On to some staff introductions. We have Ms. Weiss and Mr. Podlosky, who have some new staff members.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. Yes, I get the pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Travis Ratsoy. He is our new procurement coordinator. So new position to the organization as a whole. So we're looking forward to seeing what comes of that and making some plans and where we can help out there. He comes to us with lots of municipal experience. He was at the town of Stony Plain for 7 years, 9.5 years. So he also kicked off their procurement program there, and so he's quite familiar with starting off a procurement program somewhere.
So does that make him a shopper, like a professional shopper?
Kind of, yes.
And again, welcome. We hope to have you for many years.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillor. This is Kaylee, your MCO. She joined the county 2 weeks ago in our HR department as our HR coordinator to help us augment our staffing in HR. Kaylee's creative, forward-thinking HR professional with related experience in public and private sector, including recent municipal experience with the town of Vegreville. And she holds an HR management diploma and a Bachelor of Management degree in Human Resources and Labor Relations. And we're very happy to welcome Kaylee to the organization.
You enjoy it? Yes. The bigger the better. Okay, welcome. Let's hope to have you today. We have Mr. Bain and Ms. Moscow and Mr. Bain.
Madam Chair, I'll bring up Michael up. Come join me. This is Michael Sladowski. Michael is our one of our safety codes officers in the electrical discipline. So Michael's been with us for 10 years. He's been the safety codes officer for about 17 years. So a lot of the work that Michael does with us is obviously dealing with our direct customers and reviewing electrical plans for the county and delivering services to the construction industry, providing good advice to our department and just being a good team member. So we're very happy to have Michael still on the team and many more years to come.
Congratulations on 10 years and the service you provide. The only time I ever see Michael is when he's going out to his vehicle to go out on an inspection. But he always takes a minute to stop and visit, which I really appreciate. So congratulations.
Madam Chair. Yes, you are. You're obviously familiar with this character. So you all see Jordan here pretty regularly. Jordan's celebrating 15 years with the county. And so Jordan, he's the manager of regional long range planning, and Jordan's team is basically responsible for formulating policy to guide the physical development and evolution of the county, which is obviously a pretty big job. And so that's all of our municipal development plan related work, all of our statutory planning. And it also feeds into leading the administrative support around the EMRB work as well, so the regional growth plan and all region work. And so, yeah, we're very fortunate to have Jordan on the team, and we enjoy his easygoing way and his quiet sense of humor, and look forward to many more years.
Yeah, it's. I had the opportunity, actually Jordan, first met him when I was working on the annexation of the city of Edmonton. And he was always that good, giving these great text messages about how to respond to the next question and keeping me on the straight and narrow and making sure that Leduc County was always really well prepared going into those meetings and continues to do that around the Monday. So greatly appreciated. Makes me sound smart, Mike.
All right. So Natasha began her career at Leduc County as an accountant in a one-year term position. At the time of her hiring, the finance department was behind on the completion of bank reconciliations, and when she started with us, her main task was to get them up to date. Natasha hit the ground running, and her work had an immediate positive impact on the finance department. The time we had originally estimated that one project would take, she did it in a fraction of the time we expected. She automated the process using available technology and created an extremely efficient process as a result. I tell this background story as Natasha's approach to her work with the county has not changed from her first day with the county 10 years ago. She made an immediate positive impact 10 years ago, and she continues to have a positive impact to this day. Natasha is a dedicated employee who takes great pride in the work she does. She's always looking for innovation and efficiencies, the opportunities to learn, puts in time needed to meet a deadline, and is always willing to help others, whether that be other staff or supporting our citizens. It is because of those traits that she has held various positions within the finance department with increasing responsibilities, from the accountant position to manager of financial planning to her current role as director. Natasha is a pleasure to work with, and we are lucky to have her as part of our team. Thank you, Natasha, for your 10 years of service to the county, and I look forward to many more years of working together.
We get to interact with you a lot, especially in our budget and hearing and things like that. You always listen to our questions, you bring back responses, you make sure that we are all well prepared when it comes to approving budget or making decisions. Thank you for taking that extra time out of your budget. Wait, do we have one more? No, we did not. All right, speaking about Natasha, his wife. 5A1, request to waive property tax penalty. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have Ms. Kwok here to help me out presenting today.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here today with a recommendation to deny the request to cancel a tax penalty of $255.52 on Road 281012. According to the property owner, the tax payment was paid on June 30th, 2023 at the bank incorrectly to Leduc City. Our recommendation of not to cancel the penalty of $255.52 on Road 281012 is based on adhering to the penalties on current and arrears of property tax bylaw 01-21.
Okay, thank you very much. Comments, questions, administration? I am seeing none. Go ahead. Oh, Councillor Lewis.
So tax notice was sent out on time, obviously, because they received it. When was the tax notice penalty sent out that they would have got saying that their taxes hadn't been paid?
The penalty was charged on July 1st when the payment was not received on June 30th.
That's correct. And then subsequently we send out letters about 3-4 weeks prior to the November 1st penalty. That's when they got notice that there was a penalty that was going to be applied again on November 1st. So the individual did come into the office and we chatted out front. And so they are aware that that it is outstanding. I have worked with her personally to make sure that she has the right, that she's paying the county of Leduc versus the city now going forwards, but.
Excuse me, are they a new resident to Leduc County?
They are not.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
And again, just for clarification, so the tax amount that's due on the property has not been paid as of the 18th as well. Is that, that's correct? Thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Verdi.
It looks like they actually did pay the city of Leduc. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was incorrectly paid to the city of Leduc instead of Leduc County.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion that County Council deny the request to cancel $255.52 of tax penalty on roll 281012. And just the rationale for that is we should be, there is an amount of caution and care when we pay our taxes. We should make sure that we're making sure that stamp is on. If we're paying in person, we're paying in the right place. If we're paying at a bank, that we have the right receiver. That's the responsibility of the property owner, not the responsibility of the county. Our part was done in time and provided out. And for that reason, I believe we should deny the request. I will open the floor for any debate on the motion. Seeing no debate, I will call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
5B1, Mr. Bain, interesting report coming forward relating to the Alberta Utility Commission. The floor is yours when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the chance to speak to this item. So you've got a report on your agenda. And the purpose of this report is to give some information to council and enable council to decide on the degree of involvement of the county in the review of electricity generation in Alberta. So council is aware that back in August, the provincial government made an order directing the Alberta Utilities Commission to conduct an inquiry into the ongoing economic, orderly, and efficient development and operation of electricity generation in Alberta. And much of the review that's being carried out currently is related, of course, to renewable energy projects and the siting of those projects and the impacts on communities and so on. And the mission of the AUC now is to report back to the Minister of Affordability and Utilities by the end of March 2024. So the commission has unveiled some of the details around the process that they're going to be using to produce that report. And the order that was produced by the government identifies a scope of the review, and those are listed there in the report. And it includes considerations on the development of power plants on specific types or classes of agricultural or environmental land, and considerations of the impact of power plant development on Alberta's pristine viewscapes, and implementing mandatory reclamation and security requirements for power plants as well. So those, and it does include other items, but those are the items I think of particular interest to the county based on discussions to date on this issue. And so on October the 4th, the commission released some details around the process. And to facilitate its analysis, the commission has commissioned a number of expert reports related to the land impact issues that will be dealt with through this process. And those reports are expected to be made available no later than the 10th of November. So of course, we'll be reviewing those in some detail when we manage to get our hands on those. And so the commission has identified specific opportunities to provide input into the inquiry. There are a series of open houses that will be conducted in early November. And the nearest one to our location would be in Red Deer on November the 2nd. Interested parties are also invited to submit written comments into the AUC, and the AUC has produced a comment matrix to facilitate that, but separate comments can also be submitted as well. And there will also be a formal hearing scheduled as well for the first 2 weeks in December, or the first 2 weeks have been reserved for a hearing. And submissions from municipalities and other organizations would be scheduled during the week of December 11th to the 15th. So, Madam Chair, in order to participate in the process, the county will be required to submit a statement of intent to participate, which is standard operating procedure for AUC proceedings. And in its statement of intent to participate, the county is required to identify the issues that it intends to make submissions on. And so I've listed what I believe are the issues of significance to the county that have been discussed to date and through different conversations. And of course, the county has the benefit, if you want to look at it that way, of recent participation in an AUC process. So we have a pretty good idea of how that works. And so there's a bulleted list of items here, Madam Chair, that I think are of interest to Leduc County's position in this area. And it includes impacts of large-scale renewable energy projects being sited on prime agricultural land, lack of ability of municipalities to ensure that projects are compliant with local planning policies. And so one of the key issues here is, of course, that the AUC approval of these projects takes primacy over local planning approvals and requirements for those. So they do require development permits. They're not exempt from development permits. But the AUC approval takes primacy over those. So we can only regulate what the AUC chooses not to regulate. And it does create some confusion for participants and impacted members of the public to try and engage in these processes because it's just difficult to understand how they work. And so we wanted that on our list as well. And there's also, I think, fundamental issues around lack of notification and lack of automatic standing being given to municipalities, the host municipality. And no requirement of proponents to conduct meaningful consultation with municipalities as well for their projects. And also a significant issue is that there are no requirements around end of life, reclamation, security to protect the municipality's interests when those projects are winding up. And so there are a number of actions that administration are recommending here, Madam Chair. First is that the county attend the November 2nd open house in Red Deer. And secondly, that the county prepare and submit written comments on or before November 22nd, and that the county prepare to make oral submissions during the hearing on the week of December 11th.
Okay, thank you very much. Question from Councillor Smith.
I'm wondering again, within your recommendations, is there also just a note that legal may be required, or is this just a planning and development submission?
Madam Chair, that's something we probably want to get some advice on. My initial thinking would be we probably don't need that. It seems like the process is being set up so that it doesn't necessarily require that level of expertise in legal proceedings.
Okay, all right, thanks for that explanation. But again, in case it's there and the motion's coming forward, I'm just wondering, so instead of having to come back if legal is required, that council be aware that that may be something that needs to go forward. And I know the AUC, anytime we have participated, generally you'll see lawyers on it. So again, don't want to hand tie you. And this is an extremely important process that you're going to represent Leduc County, our residents and our businesses on. So if it's something that you feel comfortable adding, not that it needs to be within your action items, I would definitely be supportive of that.
Mr. Coleman, has administration heard the concern and? Or-
Yeah, there's no, because we have legal on retainer, if we need to use legal, we'll definitely use legals. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? I am seeing no questions. I will support this participation going forward. I think that anytime we're asked to be able to provide feedback after some experiences, I think that's really important. I know that this is primarily a rural issue because we're not putting a lot of renewables in our towns and cities, and it also creates alignment with what's happening with the RMA, the Rural Municipalities of Alberta Association. And so I believe that we should be looking at supporting this and looking for someone to put the motion on the floor. Councillor Smith?
Definitely, I would be happy to move the recommendation that council confirm Leduc County's participation in the AUC inquiry into electrical generation in Alberta, proceeding 28501, and that council direct administration to register a statement of intent to participate in proceeding 28501 on behalf of Leduc County, and that the identification of issues be as identified in the report, along with other matters as may be identified by council from time to time.
Thank you very much. Okay, any debate or questions on the motion? I am seeing, oh, go ahead.
Again, I appreciate that Leduc County takes the opportunity to represent our businesses, represent our residents, as well as rural Alberta. In this, Leduc County has had a history of appearing before AUC with, I think, a lot of positive effect. So thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you for preparing the massive amount of work that will go in. I believe this is going to make a big difference because this is something that may not have shown up at the table without a lot of lobbying to get to this point. So definitely I'm looking for full support from council today and looking forward to Leduc County being the regional leaders that they are, not only in this area, but the province.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Well said. Any further comments, questions, or debate? I am seeing none. I will call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
On to 5C1, which is the land management strategy. And when Ms. Bernand is ready, she can have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor DeBlanco. Council, good afternoon. The report before you is a land management strategy with a recommendation that council accept this strategy as a guiding document for the management of Leduc County owned land. The strategy will guide Leduc County in the appropriate stewardship of our land assets. Some background on this report and strategy is a review of the county-owned land portfolio was completed in 2022. County lands were mapped and categorized according to use. Historical parcel information was compiled and added as a reference on an internal GIS layer. And a multi-department evaluation of the land inventory was also completed. The land management strategy was developed in order to set a framework for the management of county-owned land assets for the future. A draft land management strategy was reviewed with council on September 26, 2023 at council workshop. A significant challenge of the current state of the land management portfolio is a decentralized function. This strategy recommends a centralized and collaborative land management service area. 3 strategies are identified. Leduc County owned land management results in a holistic approach that considers past, current, and future land uses and the needs along with emerging land requirements that are linked with various infrastructure needs and long-term plans, which will provide a basis for land acquisition. Land management process and procedure is developed and monitored by one department. All files are located in a centralized digitized file location, and all legal documents and other relevant documents are filed accordingly. A prioritized work plan with specific and defined actions has also been outlined. The land management strategy has identified the current state, sets a path forward to address challenges and streamline the land management function for Leduc County owned lands. The strategy is attached in your package, and I
Be
am
happy
open
to answer
your
any
questions.
questions. Of course you would. Any questions for Ms. Bernand? I am seeing none. I appreciate that we did have an opportunity to look at this formally at a workshop September 23rd, I think you said, or 26th. I also know that council has been talking about this for at least the 10 years that I've been on council to try and understand what is the land that we own, why do we own it, how could we use it, and all of that. So I'm greatly in support of this strategy. I think the notion of putting it under one department makes sense and will allow for us to not only know where we can leverage up some of the property that we own, but where we can also look at disposing property that may be helpful then further on for other types of investments. So greatly appreciate it and support it. Any questions for Ms. Bernand? I am seeing none. Looking for someone to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Scobie, thank you. Microphone, please.
Yeah, I would make that motion. Is that one read in? Okay, that council accept the land management strategy report as a guiding document for the management of Leduc County owned land.
Thank you. Comments, questions, debate? Go ahead, Councillor Smith.
I think this is a great move to centralize the land management strategy. I know that you have some challenges that you've listed inside of the report, but I think basically the weighing the options of how important it is to have one person that's knows what's out there. Before, when we started this, there was a lot of land in a lot of departments and we weren't quite sure where we're going. So I think this asset is going to help us move forward, and being managed by your department, it's going to be I think a lot better streamlined process where we can better, I guess, manage, develop, protect our land and just all of the taxpayers as well as businesses. And we are very fortunate to have a lot of great land that we have. So I'm looking forward to your department moving forward with this. Thank you.
Okay. All right, gonna call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Bernand.
Thank you.
We're moving on to 5D1, which is the first of a number of reports coming out of Mr. Honesty's department. So whenever you're ready, sir. Calling for help, I think.
Reminding we're ahead of schedule
Okay.
to my
Calling.
counterpart for the next item.
So 5D1, Leduc Regional Housing Affordable Funding.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Through our council representatives that sit on the Leduc Regional Housing Foundation, they have been working to address affordable housing in the region and have been successful in receiving some grants to allow for some construction and a new project which is currently actually taking place. The foundation has requested $500,000 in municipal contributions and has allocated and identified different amounts for each municipality, which the portion for Leduc County would be $221,585. That's based on a formula which looks at our total tax assessment compared to the region, and which is calculated at about 44% for this region. And that's a similar model that is used for our contribution towards lodge housing that we provide annually through the foundation. That amount in 2023 was $232,664. Through our support for affordable housing, we can enter into agreements with our foundation and provide support. The model that we are recommending that council support is one that's based on a population calculation versus the assessment calculation, which would be approximately 17.5%, which would equate to about 87,500 of our municipal portion. That's the amount we have recommended for support. Obviously, housing is a priority for us and for the region. And this is one portion and one project that'll help alleviate some of the pressures that we're currently facing in this region.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Honesty. Any questions on the report? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. Can you tell me why the foundation chose to use that calculation for the assessment for our portion?
I may defer that to our reps that are attending those actual meetings, but I believe it's just the model that has been used for lodge housing, and they recommended the same model for this approach.
That would be correct. Councillor Scobie, agree? Oh,
Yes, I would agree. That's what it was, because it worked out when they were coming up with the numbers that we needed to satisfy the applications. The $500,000 was a number that worked to make the applications work. And I think they just kind of looked at that as that's a method that we have for that kind of dollars already. But the option is there for us to make our own contribution as Leduc City made the initial contribution, and then it's up to the rest to put in what we felt was fitting.
does that help? It was just a currently used formula for seniors housing requisition, which is a requirement, not an option. Affordable housing in this case is actually optional. We could choose to put $0 in, but we believed that the population-based made most sense. Councillor Smith?
Leduc Regional Housing Foundation is extremely important to the area, with Leduc County representing 17.5% of the population of that group of people. Definitely would be supportive of putting in 17.5% of the funding needed. The 44% for something as some municipality with such a small population base seems to be quite unfair for Leduc County to put in $221,000 of the $500,000 with only 17% of the population. Doesn't seem fair. So I would be prepared to put something in and that move the recommendation that council provide the $87,500 to the regional Leduc Regional Housing Foundation in support of their affordable housing construction project with funding from the Operating Special Purpose Future Years Initiative.
Thank you. We do have a motion on the floor at this time. Open for any further comments, questions, or debate. I'm seeing none. I will make a comment. I will support that motion. As Councillor Smith said, I did think that this was more should have been more of a population-based look at the money. It was unfortunate that when we were looking at the grants through Leduc Regional Housing Foundation, the timelines were very, very tight. And I believe that bringing forth the equalized assessment as a way to get to the $500,000 was the most expedient way for them to do that. But again, the board the current board allowed us to say we need to bring it back to our council. We need to make a decision that probably won't be $221,000, and that was accepted as well. So good working relationship at that table so that council could make the best decision possible. Any other comments, questions? Going to call the question on the motion. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Honesty. Moving on to 5D2 community grant funding.
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you again for having me here. It is that time of year again where we bring some recommendations from our recreation and arts and culture groups. So you have before you some recommendations for our regional recreations and sport and arts and culture grants. After administrative review and a thorough review process from our PRAC committee, we have some recommendations for you to approve today. We had 53 applications come through for both of our combined recreation and arts and culture grants with over $84,000 in ask. So we don't have that much money. So the committee did a great job of coming up with some, I think, administratively fair distribution of funding. So that's what we had for you this afternoon. And these programs allow us to have a greater reach on the community as far as sort of our indirect program services. So we work closely with these groups. Any of them that aren't funded through this program, we do reach out to them and see if we can find alternative sources of funding or other alternatives that we can support them with resources. So that's what we have for you today.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the administration on this report? I have a couple that I provided actually earlier to Mr. Honesty. I was unable to attend the PRAC meeting. I was down with the flu, but I'm fine now. So my first question was, there are a lot of organizations that are located either in the city of Beaumont or the city of Leduc. Are county organizations able to apply to any city grants that they might have?
Yeah, and as we discussed, our approach is around for sure for ours, it's around impact for the county, which is, we allow Leduc and Beaumont groups to apply if they have impact and it's a need for the county. There are at times opportunities for groups to request funding, but obviously many of those groups, like in the city of Leduc, are open to Leduc County residents, and often those groups are primarily funded as well by just the city of Leduc. So we think there's a good relationship of fair contributions back and forth.
Reciprocal.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My second question really was around accountability. And so we provide funding out. And one of the things that I had noticed that I believe that our Parks and Recs does really well is they provide that slideshow and show you what's happened. That would it be possible to have an expectation that these community groups actually provide a few photos showing that maybe they bought their new soccer stuff, or here's a picture from their dance, so that not only is it about accountability for what we've asked for, it's part of the sharing what we're doing as a community. So is that a potential?
Yeah, and those are things we've already been working on around the accountability. We try to make it where it's not too much work for these groups to make it not worth their while to put in for, but something like photos and sharing as part of their final report is exactly what we've been talking about doing. As we send these checks out with the letters, it'll come with some of those details of information we're looking for, and we'll have that next fall to share with council, which will be pretty exciting.
And again, it's a great way to share, again, what's happened across our county. Andrea?
I was just going to say too, that this was brought up last year as well, and it is on our final report, but also this past season, we did give them that proactive approach of, hey, we're going to be asking for pictures. So make sure you take at least a couple, because as most of you know, being involved in a lot of these things, you get in it and
It's very difficult to
forget
remember
do
to
those
take a
things.
picture. I'm with you.
Totally. Yeah, so we will definitely have photos of these things, and we would love to
Great.
share with you what's going on out there. So
Yeah, great. And it's a way to share best practices too,
Yeah.
or what's been successful. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Scobie.
Not a question, a comment. I was out to Strawberry on Saturday night, and actually their volunteers that run the thing asked me to pass along the absolutely exceptional job your staff did out there running that function with, I think they said they had 91 people there. Kept kids and everybody busy all day long. They just couldn't say enough about your crew out there that run that function. It was enjoyed by a lot of people.
thank you very much.
Donut eating, what was it?
Kalmar donut on a string. We're bringing it to council.
Donut on a string. We're good.
Yeah, we want it at staff appreciation. 2 donuts.
2 donuts, yeah.
You eat your donut off the string and you get a donut as a prize. It's a win-win.
I'm in. Any other comments or questions? I am seeing none. Looking for someone to put the recommendation or the motion on the floor. Councilor Brody, can you do that for us? Thank you. Page 40.
I move that council approve the 2023 Recreation and Cultural Grants, grant funding allocations. One, regional recreation and sports grants, and number 2, arts and cultural grants.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions? And again, as Councillor Scobie said, thank you very much for the work you do, not only directly with our residents, but the work you do to support our volunteer groups. It is invaluable and allows us to provide recreation in a very efficient and effective way through community halls and other organizations. Thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. On to East Vistas Community Association funding request.
Thank you. And I guess it leads into our partnerships as well with these next couple items. As council recalls, the East Vistas Community Association was before council earlier this fall, looking for some support to allow them to secure grants, which would allow for the development of some park amenities within their community. Obviously, this is a priority and a goal of ours as well. And Andrea and I have been working closely with them for the last couple of years as they establish and develop and set some of their priorities. What we're asking support of council at this time is to offer conditional support, which would allow them the ability to go out and secure these matching grants that they had proposed. With your support today, Andrea and the group will prepare the grants for submission on January 15th. So we have a little bit of time, but as quotes come in and start piecing everything together, our commitment will allow them to submit that application with some secured funding. So we were asking for support of 125,000, and as previously identified, it'll likely be a 2025 project by the time they secured the grants, tendered out and get everything ready for capital. But we'll submit those in here in 2024, as well as define and refine exactly what we're doing and work with the community on a plan for 2025.
Thank you very much. Questions for administration? I have a question. Are most of these grants matching grants?
The specific one that we'll be applying to is the Community Facility Enhancement Program, which is a lottery funded matching grant. Andrea will look at other options. There's accessibility grants and different options that we can also look to apply for. But specifically, we'll be targeting the CFEP grant.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, Councillor Smith?
So is this the first playground that we'll be building in that community?
This is the first, and not just the playground, but we have gazebo park amenities that'll be part of it as well. So this will service all of the area that's currently built, as well as some of the subdivisions that are currently being planned and being built as we speak. So.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, looking for someone to put the motion on the floor. Councillor Verdi.
I would like to make the motion that council provide conditional funding support allocated from the capital statutory municipal reserve in the amount of 125,000 to the East Vistas Community Association.
Any comments you want to make on your motion at this time?
Just maybe one comment. I believe that putting this park in place will raise the bar for future developers within this area. It is going to be probably the most populous and densified area within Leduc County. So setting the bar high with our support and good community connections now, I believe will go a long way. And this group has shown, effort and individual efforts to try to make this happen as well. And I believe they're holding equity in the game as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And supports the motion that you put on the floor, and kudos out to the association. That's a lot of fundraising to do. We all know how hard that is for anybody who's worked in a community organization. But as Councillor Verdi said, needed in the Vistas area and will serve us for many years going forward. Further comments, questions, or debate? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Roley View Community Association funding request.
Yeah, thank you. This is a request that we received from the Roley View Community Association, which is a strong partner of the county. They are as well looking to secure some grants for some capital improvements to their facility, specifically around the entry and the accessibility of their existing facility. As we've all experienced it there, it is okay, but we can make improvements, and through our partnership, we can make it more accessible and easier to access for any person and any resident. This follows a similar approach to our capital contributions, in that we have an expectation of their own contribution, as well as the leveraging the grants. And again, they'd go for a CFEP as well, which would be a 50% matching, as well as a contribution of Leduc County that we're recommending $19,000. I've recommended that this can be allocated towards our recreation cost share capital program. Each year we budget $350,000, which includes our capital contributions, but we can as well identify some of these smaller contributions. And I'm confident that the $19,000 will fit into that program. I'll bring the full details to council in February once we have everyone's budgets, but I'm confident that we can allocate it toward that and it'll fit within that program. So we'll obviously work closely with the association as they go through this process, apply, and then hopefully are successful in receiving the funds.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Councillor Lewis.
Just comments. I walk those stairs a lot. They are getting old and slippery, and I've seen a lot of seniors, they grab on for dear life. So I'd be happy to put the recommendation forward.
Okay. Can you, your voice?
I will try. That council provide conditional funding support allocated from the recreation cost share capital program in the amount of $19,000 to the Roley View Community Association.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The motion is on the floor. Any questions or debate? I am seeing none. Appreciate Roley View bringing this forward. Concerned about the safety and accessibility of their hall. Shows good stewardship and great community spirit. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. 5D5. Speaking of seniors.
Yeah, and this is a strategic partner of us attempting to accomplish one of our priorities and one of our goals. This year, we engaged the residents around a revitalization plan and a revisioning of Yardley Jones Park. Of course, that plan identified some improvements that we can make to the park. And from there, we started to think about how we can make this possible. So we've approached the New Sarepta Golden Pioneers as a strategic partner of ours in accomplishing saving us some of our own dollars with leveraging some grants. Municipalities aren't eligible for the CFEP grants. So with a strategic partner, in this case being the seniors, we can hopefully leverage 50% of our future capital investment in that park program. So they've agreed to this, and we'll support them in, again, submitting an application here in January, hopefully receiving the funds in 2024, and then looking to action the project in 2025. So with council support, we'll lead through that process. In the end, it'll be our project. It'll be our park, but obviously the seniors want to be a part of helping us leverage as many dollars as we can to be successful. So.
Thank you very much. I think we have a member of that club here. So Councillor Smith.
Yes, I am a member of the New Sarepta Golden Pioneers. Dean, I just want to commend you on the survey that you did and the engagement in the community. This is something that the community has really helped shape, and you offer the transparency and the opportunity to people come forward, and you continue to move forward on what you heard. I appreciate you working with the Golden Pioneers to save the county a lot of money. It's an important historic project, I think, for the region, and Yardley Jones being connected to New Sarepta over the years was very important to that. So definitely I'd be happy to move the recommendation that council provide conditional funding allocated from the capital statutory municipal reserve in the amount of 60,000 to the New Sarepta Golden Pioneers. And just in closing in comments, the timeline that you're proposing is I think really acceptable. It's not too fast. You're allowing things to go, and you're continuing to be open and take comments from people. So I want to again thank you. It's something in government that we need to make sure our people help form what we do as well as what we develop, and you have done a really great job with that. Thank you.
He's blushing. Any comments or questions, debate on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. And just before you go, again, thank you for the work you do to support our volunteer organizations. I think everyone here on council belongs to one of those organizations and has either phoned you or had somebody phone you and ask for advice or support. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for the hard work you do for all of our citizens.
Thank you.
Speaking about hard work, we'll ask Mr. Murglod to come up now. We're on to 5E1, which is Aero Utilities rate increase. Mr. Murglod.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This material was presented at the Public Works Committee last week. I've made some minor modifications to it and added some more detail to it. So I'll go through it again for council's benefit. So administration has been developing a 2024 wastewater budget for council consideration. And as part of this process, we did reach out to the Alberta Capital Region Wastewater Commission, now Aero Utilities, to get some advice on what type of rate increase to expect for 2024, both for the treatment transmission charges as well as for the overstrength charges. The detail, the email is located within the report itself. I'm not necessarily going to go through the gory detail of that email, but summarizing it is that there is a planned 23 cent per cubic meter increase. Just for reference, 2023 rate was $1.50 a cubic meter. So this will take it up to $1.73. This translates to a 15.3% increase in the proposed 2024 transmission and treatment charges from Aero Utilities. There's also a planned 10% increase in BOD, which is biological oxygen demand, COD, which is chemical oxygen demand, TSS, total suspended solids, O&Gs, oil and greases, overstrength charges, as well as the 2% increase in nitrogen and total phosphorus overstrength charges. So there's a series of charges across the board that is coming down from Aero Utilities being passed on to municipalities. In examining Aero Utilities capital plan, and you can see the detail of that attached in Exhibit 1, the majority of it, which is 75% of the cost, is to fund a wastewater treatment plant upgrade. Well, part of the upgrades is to address the loading. So this is overstrength charges that we referred to a little bit earlier of the effluent entering the system. It's administration's understanding that the remainder of the cost is to treat the wastewater to a higher standard than what's required underneath their code of practice and their licensing in order for it to be allowed for hydrogen production. Alberta Utilities is working with another company providing water for hydrogen production or is planning to provide water for hydrogen production for Orem Energy Park in the Heartland. One thing I do want to highlight is there has been no contract, to the best of my knowledge, signed. So this is something that could potentially be at risk. Delving a little bit further into Air Utilities' future budgets, it also projects a further rate increase. And this is again directly attributable to the capital plan upgrades related to the plant expansion, with 10 cents per cubic meter or 5.8% increase in 2025, 7-cent increase or 3.8% increase in 2026, or a final 1 cent increase, which is a 0.5% increase in 2027. Now, these are all in per cubic meter charges. Overall, this translates to a 27.3% increase in wastewater transmission and charge rates for the next 3 years. The magnitude of this cost makes it extremely difficult for municipalities like Leduc County to increase their rates for our own needs. For example, we have built a rate plan in conjunction with council, which includes, and this unfortunately is an error, it's not 17 cents, but it's 13 cents per cubic meter per year, to put into reserves for the eventual replacement of infrastructure when it's warranted. The rate increase proposed by Air Utilities puts this in jeopardy, as Leduc County will likely be unwilling to pass on a 36-cent per cubic meter increase, plus an allowance for any kind of increase for operating costs onto the customer. This becomes a concern, which I'll delve into a little bit later on, is that the rate increase that Leduc County has put in place and plan to put in place is for the replacement of infrastructure. It's good stewardship by the municipality to make sure that we have reserves in place to replace infrastructure when it's warranted versus a potential to business development opportunity, especially when there's not necessarily a contract in place. In Exhibit 2, which is following a little bit further down on the same page I was referencing, it outlines the proposed unit rate increases for the next number of years. So this is again directly from Air Utilities 2023 budget report. And then in Exhibit 3 shows a historical graph, which basically shows the projected rate increases for the next number of years. This will also have a detrimental effect on all wastewater users, not necessarily, I would say, for Leduc County, but within the entire capital region, anybody who has Air Utilities as a service provider. Administration examined the impacts to a major customer, a significant food processor, and the users of the Nisku sewage transfer station, and have summarized them in Table 1 below. Please note that this is just to cover off the cost from Air Utilities and no allowance at all for Leduc County operating costs. So within Table 1, the major customer would see an increase in monthly charges for treatment of $9,015 or 10.3% increase, and a $427 increase in overstrength charges, again 10%. So total monthly increase for this one customer of shade underneath $9,500, $9,442. We also looked at a significant food processor within Nisku Industrial Park, as they're usually higher in overstrength. Things like chemical oxygen demand, biological oxygen demand from the food processing industry results in overstrength charges. So this is where it would hit them a little bit harder. So the increase in monthly charges for the significant food processor is $1,960, again 10.3%. And increase in monthly charges is $827 per month. So a total bill increase projected for this customer strictly for Air Utilities rate increase of $2,787. And then lastly, the sewage transfer station. This is a facility where all the sewage haulers who collect sewage from the country residential subdivisions, other purposes where it's not necessarily directly connected into the Nisku sanitary sewer system, haul the effluent to. So the increase in monthly charges, again, this which goes to Leduc County and will be passed on to the consumer, is projected to be a little over $1,000, $1,015 per month, and overstrength charges is $279. Total increase of $1,294. Again, this is strictly for Aero Utilities rate increase. Fundamentally, administration objects to utility rate payer paying for business development opportunities without a robust discussion on the financial model, the rate of return on investment, and the risk associated with the proposed endeavor. Aero Utilities is a service provider with captive users, and it isn't like that we can go to a different service provider to go and obtain service. It's not like you have electrical service and say, I don't like EPCOR, I'm going to go to NMAX. The only service provider for most of municipalities forming the donut around the city of Edmonton is Aero Utilities, and they do have a captive audience here. The member municipalities need Aero Utilities to be successful. They are the only service provider, but we also need them to have assurances that the direction of the commission is transparent, fair, and in the best interests of all. It's also not lost in administration that the commission needs to work in the best interest of the commission, but this does not alleviate the need for transparency to its member municipalities. Fundamentally, for residents to pay for a potential business development opportunity doesn't necessarily make sense when you're running a utility. The entire premise and the way that we run our system, generally speaking, is you pay for the capacity that you use. You're using sewer pipes, you're using lift stations. We budget for the replacement, we budget for the maintenance of these. So as those are being used, you're using up that portion of that asset that you're using. And eventually, at the end of that asset's life, we have money in the bank account to go and replace that asset. This rate increase does put that entire arrangement in danger, and you have potentially current ratepayers paying for benefits that they will never see. Leduc County needs to demand transparency on this business case to support the rate increases, and as such, sending a letter to Aero Utilities stating that they need to defer the rate increase until the business case is provided to and supported by the administrations of the member municipalities. It's not that Leduc County objects to a business development opportunity. Where we object is that we need to have transparency in how this rate is determined, what the opportunities are, what the risks are, and how this figures into how a municipality is going to do business. We do need Aero Utilities to be successful. Absolutely we do. But at the same time, we want to ensure that we are looking after our customers. We have the direct relationship between our customers. Aero Utilities can go and they can increase their rates and we pass it on to our customers. And unfortunately, when the ratepayers receive their first bill in January or end of January, and they say, how come my bill's so high? They really don't care that it's Aero Utilities who passed it on. They look at Leduc County and say, why did you do this as a municipality? Understanding that the recommendation of administration is twofold. First of all, that council provide direction to a representative on Aero Utilities Commission Board to bring forward a notice of motion to commission a 25-year master plan, which includes capital projects for system maintenance and expansion, including debt and rate projections to fund capital projects. This is something that the Water Commission did underneath the advice of our member at that point in time, Councillor Smith. It has resulted in a rate that is transparent, sustainable, and it's fully supported by all the member municipalities. We need to have the same sort of transparency within the Aero Utility system because it's a similarly aged system. They do have significant problems, and Councillor Smith is probably privy to a lot more than most of us around the table are, but there are some significant upgrades that are going to be required. I have no idea whether the rate increase proposed is sufficient to go and pay for these future infrastructure upgrades. I hate to have one cost stacked on top of another, plant upgrade with a future major line upgrade, lift station replacement, or all of the above in order to continue to provide service. And the second aspect of the recommendation is that Mayor DeBlanco sent a letter to Aero Utilities regarding the rate increase, expressing our objection to the rate increase and request that it be deferred until a thorough and transparent review of the business case supporting the upgrade can be shared with member municipalities. In advance of this report, I've had an opportunity to draft a letter, and I've had the opportunity for communications to review it, and they have worked their magic, and I do have a letter I can share on the overhead that council can read right now. is addressed to is the CEO of Air Utilities. And they will do those for the council. The Leduc County Council recently learned about the 2024 to 2027 wastewater rate increases proposed by Air Utilities, and it's not in support of the changes. As a member of the municipality, we expect a certain level of consultation and transparency when it comes to projects and changes that will impact our community. Zero attempts were made by Air Utilities to engage with Leduc County about its planned major plant upgrades. This is incredibly discerning, especially when you consider the impacts to our residential and business citizens, and will realize that result of this project and related wastewater rate increases. All municipalities have a direct responsibility to our utility users. The proposed wastewater rate increase will generate an unsupported hardship for our users and create an indefensible position for our council. We cannot defend a decision where no details were shared and no consultation was undertaken. We strongly request that Air Utilities pause the current major plant upgrade project until consultation or review of the business case supporting the upgrade can be presented, reviewed, discussed, and accepted by the affected communities. On behalf of the Leduc County Council, we look forward to your response and a future engagement of our opportunities. It's also suggested by administration that this letter would also be CC'd to all the mayors within the capital region as well. I have administratively had an opportunity to speak with several of them or through other contacts. And as it sits right now, there's nobody who fully supports this increase. And to be perfectly honest, many of them were caught unaware until I brought it to their attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meriglod. Councillor Smith, any further comments? You sit on that? You provide-
I do. Yep, I do have several comments. First off, I'm here today as Rick Smith, a councillor with Leduc County, but I'm also appointed to this commission as a standalone. So I have two duties that I'm doing. So I've again, in Public Works, we had made a request to come forward and get some more information. Over the past week, I've spent time as a counselor going back, and I just want to give you some updates with what we have, again, for what we've asked. And again, not moving the recommendation, but part of the recommendation the council will be asking for today is that there be a notice of motion brought forward. I did speak to the chair, met with him yesterday, and I spoke to the CAO. They have agreed to put it as a item on the agenda. It doesn't need to be a motion. I've asked them to engage a secondary, I guess, engineering firm, much the same as we did at the Water Commission, which has already occurred. So they're going back over and do it. So there has been action over the last week that a firm has been contacted to double check what we're doing. And again, it will be an item. So just looking at your recommendation, I've been assured it'll be an item. There will be a debate, and the members that I've reached out to are in acceptance. One of the concerns I had or was expressed to me by the CAO was 25 years in a sewer master plan, maybe a little bit too long because of regulations with the environment, which are on changing removal of pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. But definitely be looking at something going out, if it be it a 10-year, 15-year, 25-year plan. So as you get ready to formulate your recommendation today, rest assured that it's already an agenda item that is coming forward as an action. Again, I don't believe that the Aero Utilities has done a really great job in talking about why and what they're doing here. So some of the background information that I did have a chance to gather, which I don't think has been shared and may offer a little bit more comfort, is yes, there's a plant expansion going on, but it's not completely for the hydrogen plant. So the increases are to accommodate inflationary costs, such as the construction costs throughout the organization, operating costs, such as chemicals, natural gas. We just redid the electric contract, which was substantial, and of course the required plant expansion. The rate increases account for the continued need to manage the aging transmission system. And again, we've been talking about this at this table, that it's a system that was built in 1970 of concrete, and hydrogen sulfide breaks the concrete down and it caves in. So it's something that has been there that they're now starting to manage. I wish it would have been done in the past, where we could have done 10 kilometers at a time at a cost that's not 4 times as much right now. The plant expansion is to accommodate both residential and industrial growth throughout the region. So as these houses go in, as we have booming economies in Leduc, Beaumont, and now Leduc County, as well as the city of Edmonton that continues to go, Fort Saskatchewan, Spruce Grove, one of the fastest growing areas. There's demand just to meet the residential as well as the businesses that are coming in. So I don't think that was communicated well, that the residential and industrial growth needs to be brought in. And of course, the growing need to protect the infrastructure, a lot more cyber attack potential, as well as getting finally into asset management that we talked about that they're going through. So I am seeing some of that going through. Again, as a councillor, I have the concerns that we spoke about today. But as a commissioner on that, pushing for the change is where I'm finally starting to see some of that to come in. So again, the plant expansion is necessary to accommodate forecasted growth. That's in residential and industry, as well as it services the heartland, which is a massive development that continues to go. They take all of the waste from there, including the chemicals, and it's put through. And again, of course, the air products, hydrogen producing. So within 2 years, there'll be a revenue stream that they do claim will then, they'll be selling water instead of just putting it into the river to the hydrogen. So it'll be a circular economy that goes back in at that point. They're looking for stabilization in rates and to address the anticipated capital infrastructure needs. So they are working on it. They have heard through me what our council has said, and they have addressed some of it. As you make your recommendations today, I'm not sure your recommendation should be for a notice of motion, as I already have secured an agenda item for that discussion. The letter going forward is totally council's decision to make and express their concerns. So I'll take, again, if I may, Mayor, just any clarification questions on what I've gathered over the last week, as well as the concerns that I've been bringing back to the table, that eventually this is all going to come to a head, and it has. And I'm satisfied sitting on this side of the table as well as there that there's now actionable items that will better be, more transparent to the municipalities, as well as I think a better second look of an engineering firm to come in and look at what that commission is doing, as well as their plan going forward. And I hope to have something I think as reputable and as dependable as the Water Commission one, which we had a hand in putting together. So if there's any clarifications that I can offer.
I guess my question, Councillor Smith, is you had to dig around to find all that information. Why was that not provided at the board table, at the commission table, when people were looking at what it would be?
And again, around the board table, the rates were discussed. I have been voting against the rates. Even last year, they've gone through.
That you provided that you had to dig around and find wasn't provided with the rate increases?
Yep. And so I guess again, I agree that the transparency, and probably, as I said, they probably didn't do a good enough job in rolling out the information about just talking about the plant is where it was at. But I also think the increased demand of the residential area, again, what does Edmonton say? They're going to double or bring in 1 million more people. Well, that's going to require upgrades to the system as well as the treatment. Hydrogen is something big. And of course, the heartland, everybody loves to make those announcements. But again, the people down in the basement that treat what ends up in the basement, I don't think have been representing the challenges going forward in the infrastructure. So again, it's something as a commissioner that I will push for a better communication to come back, maybe something on a meeting basis where there's better communication, something that's given to administration, and maybe something then that goes into the Public Works Committee on a regular basis as well. And that might be a good idea at the Water Commission and at the landfill.
Thank you. I hear from Councillor Smith that there will be an actionable item on their agenda, so we probably could remove number 1. The part about sending a letter, I agree with. I also wonder about sending a letter or CCing that letter to our MLA's Minister of Jobs. I mean, we are working very, very hard in this region to try and attract and retain business and industry to offset the costs of residential growth. And when we have something like this that then makes it, I mean, $2,000 more a month a month, not a year, a month, just to do the business that you used to do, seems to be an extremely high change. And there, hopefully we'll get some more information about the rationale. But I think that we need to share with the government that as a municipality, we're working very hard through our ECDEV to attract business. This isn't an attraction for business. If it's going to cost that much more to do business in this region, businesses will settle somewhere else where it's more reasonable for day-to-day costs. So I would recommend that not only do we do send the letter to Aero Utilities, and we CC it to not only our MLAs, but industry as well. And just to let them know that this is happening, because much like we heard Mr. Meriglod said, it came as a bit of a surprise, and we need to be moving forward collaboratively, cooperatively at all levels of government and industry to try and move this forward. Councillor Smith?
Again, and I should have provided a little bit more background information with it. The commission is working with the provincial government right now and is into the final stage where there will be a presentation to all of caucus by Aero Utilities requesting funding as well as just the crumbling system, the need to do upgrades because of residential and business, part of it being the heartland. So that is something right now that the provincial government is working on, and in Ottawa as well, they're working with the federal government to step up and help with the hydrogen production, which is something out of Ottawa, and get them to cover off the cost, because Ottawa shows up at the heartland quite a bit on these projects, but they need to put money in to help with it. So there are 3 levels of government right now working on it, so they are aware.
Councillor Smith? Or sorry, Councillor Lewis?
Thank you. Just further to what you were saying, if there's a way that we can let our residents know that would be affected by this too, my phone's going to ring.
Oh, just hang on. We've got a response here.
Yeah, I think that'll be part of our communications as we go forward.
Forward
whether
as
through
the
it's
decisions are
through-
made.
As decisions are made, whether it's through our utility billing process or even through the Chronicle and things of that nature. And I think that's the importance of this letter, is that our residents know that we're fighting on their behalf. Councillor Smith is fighting constantly and tirelessly at those commissions to see better work. And unfortunately, he's at times a lone voice there, I think, and it's unfortunate.
Councillor Verdi?
Have we compared these increases to similar commissions out there for wastewater? For example, what would be our rates in the future versus what others that are servicing similar municipalities?
I haven't compared this to any other commissions because this is pretty much a unique situation where portion of this is for a business development opportunity where there's not necessarily detail on the payback. Even with how this is structured, if there's need for upgrades in the plant for additional growth, there's other mechanisms that are available other than charging through rates. Something like an offsite levy. There's been changes to the Municipal Government Act, which allows intermunicipal offsite levies. Having some type of technical committee at the Aero Utilities group, again, not separate from the board, but where we could meet as technical members and brainstorm potential solutions to problems that they're running into. This way, if you had an offsite levy in place, it would be development paying for the necessary plant upgrades that they are incurring for them to be successful. So the people who are shouldering responsibility are developers who are actually doing the development instead of the current ratepayers are paying today for something that they maybe didn't necessarily sign on for or understand. So there's a number of mechanisms, but I guess back to your original question. No, we haven't compared to any other commissions in the same regard. So,
Councillor Smith?
And I can add a little bit of insight to that. Unfortunately, the rates are just below, with the new rates, they'll be just below EPCOR's, which is sad that EPCOR is at that rate. And it's probably information that should be shared, that all of the wastewater that comes from the city of Leduc County, as well as Beaumont, is treated by EPCOR at the Gold Bar. And they're just in the midst of upgrading their plant. And so we have a reciprocal agreement where we take sewage from North Edmonton and treat it, and they take the south of Edmonton. And so I was shocked that we're just going to be below the EPCOR rate, which is, in my opinion, too much. not a rate that's supportive, but unfortunately EPCOR has been charging this much over a period of time, and that's where ours is treated. So it's concerning that both of them are charging as much as they will be.
I'm not seeing any further questions, so I will make a motion that Mayor Blanco, this is just a little adaptation to the motion that's there. Mayor Blanco to send a letter to Aero Utilities with CCs to our MLAs and appropriate ministers, comma, regarding the rate increase, expression of our objection to the rate increase, and request that it be deferred until a thorough and transparent review of the business case supporting the upgrades can be shared with member municipalities. So we're just going to add in the CC piece. We really want to, and I appreciate Councillor Smith saying our government is involved and they're going to have the information, but they need to know that this is an issue related to business development, economic development for us here at the county. And Councillor Smith will just review, we'll move the top one unless there is nothing on your agenda, and then we'll.
Right. If you're comfortable with the fact that it will be an
We
agenda
trust that-
item, then,
We trust that you are able to manage your commission chair.
all right, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, Mr. Meriglod. We're going to move to an in-camera session now. Councillor Wanchuk, will you move us to in-camera at 2:50? All in favor? That is unanimous, and we will wait until we are. It was because nobody else put their name in. I think it was what it was. Can't remember what it was. Okay, thank you very much for joining us again. The only motion we made in our in-camera session was to come out of in-camera, and that was made by Councillor Balazar at 3:13. We have no motions coming out of our in-camera session. So with that, we are adjourned at 3:16. Thank you very much for joining us.